Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another PSGL evaluation race here for season 26. We are here for race 6 and grid 2 here once again in Belgium. It's the same track for everyone, obviously, and I'm really looking forward to this. My first comms on this game, and I think it's the same for my co-commentator today, which is going to be Jared, once again, as we did commentary for PSGL FP last season. I'm very much looking forward to commentating with you again. Hello and welcome, Jared.
Oh, thank you very much for that introduction there, Felix. It's good to be back, especially in the commentary booth. It's been a while. Maybe a bit rusty, but yeah, evaluation race for Spa has been the same for everybody else. So it'll be very interesting how the pace goes, especially with the strategy mandatory soft to medium.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's going to be, um, more or less a race of its own for everybody because position really doesn't matter. It depends on consistency and good lap times over a whole course of a race. As the race director should be shown on stream later in the race, as I hopefully won't forget that. And then the placements will be made. I'm not quite sure when. I think it was the 28th, wasn't it? 28th?
Yeah, it's 28th. They'll be released basically and tell you what tier you will be in. Hopefully I'm in F1, I think I'm that pace. No, I'm joking. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see for that from PSGL.
Yes, we've got, like you already mentioned, a mandatory strategy for this race, as I somehow can't select a driver. Ah, can I now? No, I can't. Ah, now I can. Yeah, that's good. That's how we want it. But a very, very stupid thing on this game, which I already noticed as I was spectating the race, is that when you scroll through the spectator menu and you try to switch onto a different driver, you can't press X twice. You have to press X, then go down, and then press on spectate. Which was a lot easier on last year's game, not gonna lie, but I hope I get used to it. And obviously new game. It's been out for around half a month now. Yeah, half a month should be right. And I think it's still around the phase where everyone tries to, get their pace sorted for this game. And now there should be the time where everyone finds out where they will stand in comparison to all the others. Obviously, people develop over the whole course of a game phase. But Jared, just tell us what's different in this game. What has drastically changed in comparison to last year?
Well, last year you had to mess about with your ERS. This year you don't have to anymore, which I find a bit better. It's more concentrated on the track than messing with the ERS. I've noticed traction is a bit easier, and the corner cutting is actually a lot stricter as well, which is great to see, so no one can exploit track limits at certain tracks, as I believe Matthew Collins is actually about to begin his first lap in the racing point for his evaluation race. If you want to go on board with him, Felix.
Yes, and we can see what slightly triggers me, which is not that big of a thing, but what slightly triggers me is that on this year's game, for some reason online, you still have the actual real-life driver's car with the same number. It's not that big of a deal, but me personally, it triggers me because I thought it was quite cool for every single driver to have their individual number. But sadly, right now we don't have it. I don't know if it's going to be fixed or if it's actually planned by Codemasters or whatever, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see. And for the moment, we see Venom is currently racing in Sergio Perez's car, coming around Les Combes now into the no-name hairpin now. Very easy to lock up into here, even though no ABS, like you've already mentioned, is a lot easier on this game. You don't lock up that easy anymore. But what I've noticed is that dirty air is a much bigger thing on this game than it was last year.
Yeah, that is true, of course. It's a lot easier actually to make a mistake in dirty air. There's actually one of the Mercedes drivers, I think, lost it through a rouge. That could be Stiggy, I believe.
Nah, it's Sabetti.
Yeah, I think Sabetti's lost through a rouge.
Yeah, I think probably on the top of the hill then, where the traction can be a bit tricky with not the right setup on the car, but hopefully that won't be the same for the race for him. As no, that is James. I'm trying to follow Venom right now. That's what I wanted to see as he comes into the final chicane through the bus stop corner. And he will be the first driver to actually put in a lap for us today, and it's going to be a 1:43.1. His teammate Tipson right behind him. He puts in a 1:42.7, 3/10 in front of his teammate. And at 53, Mo, I'm just going to call him Mo for today, is 2.7 seconds slower, but he's on a different compound. Ronzois goes fastest for the moment with a 1:41.7, which is quite a good lap for a first run, I'd say. And we are waiting for the other drivers to finish their first lap. Our V8 field is on an out lap right now, and it looks like both of the Ferraris are... Nope, Vapor King is not on a lap. TRT James is neither. So both have, it looks like, done more or less 2 warm-up laps. And on the bottom left it says, for me, fastest lap Tipson. I think it's got to stay there for the rest of quali, which is a bit annoying, but what can you do?
Oh, he actually doesn't actually have the fastest lap. It's actually Ron Zeus, who has a 41.7. So that graphic is wrong. You know, Formula 1, get that fixed. But other than that, he's a second quicker actually in the McLaren, which even I couldn't match that pace on the wheel in no ABS. I was in the 43s, 42.8s, which was my best lap. So some of these drivers I actually could possibly challenge if I was in this evaluation race. But right now then, the McLaren driver sits at the top by a 1 whole second now on the soft tyre.
Yeah, I saw James had a bit of a tank slapper coming out of La Source, turn 1 obviously, and that won't have helped his lap time. It says he's purple, but I kind of doubt that with that mistake he made out of turn 1. That definitely wasn't the quickest way to get around there. And now coming down into the no-name corner. I think it actually now has a name, but I'm not sure. It might have. Do you know that? Oh, that looked once again not very stable on the rear, and he's abandoned his lap. So he's not happy with the way the car feels so far. But let's see, Vapor King has actually gone into the pit lane. And what's with Sabetti? Is he on a lap? He is actually on a lap. He's coming through Blanchimon right now in his Mercedes. Not the updated Mercedes so far. Still a very early phase in the game. And that was a very, very unnecessary track extend by Sabetti, which then invalidates his lap. So very sad for him to to have your lap time deleted so close before the end, as he tries to get into the pit lane somehow. And V8 field currently on an out lap, as everyone else is as well on an out lap. I don't think that James will go for another run. No, he dives into the pit lane as well. Nearly clips the wall on the outside, which could have given him some front wing damage, which is not that big of an issue in quali, to be honest. But I think Stiggy has actually just started his lap. Yeah, he has, in the number 44 car of Lewis Hamilton, as he comes round La Source and now down into Eau Rouge, or Radion, however you want to call it. This part is actually Radion, as we probably all know because of that dad meme that was a few years ago, that was dead after like 2 days. And yeah, I'm actually looking forward to the new graphics that have been introduced to the game for spectators in the race in terms of pit strategy.
Well, yeah, that is true. The new graphic which pops up now in the race, we're saying your pit box is open, which is awesome to see. And also with the driver of the day graphic near the end of the race, which would be great to see. And as you can see, the Mercedes are struggling on grip. Better than James though, as that Ferrari looked like it was in real life. Very tail happy. But right now, the Sticky driver in the Mercedes, in the number 44, is looking quite comfortable on his lap, a bit cautious as well. I noticed today he wasn't going full throttle. But will he be purple in sector 2 then? And apparently he is, but you can't trust that, because you can say you're purple and you're actually not purple. But right now then, as Tipson still says, apparently it's a 42.7 is the fastest, which it's not. As AB53 Moff actually feels it's now actually going on a set of soft tyres, so he did actually do that lap on mediums. But he's now actually going on the soft, so he will be improving his lap time very soon. As he comes to then round the final corner. and he does a 1:43.4 there, Felix. Not a bad lap there from Stiggy.
Yeah, currently P6. Last of the soft runners though for now, so he will definitely be looking to improve his lap time. But yeah, what I wanted to talk about with you is once again, as Vitinho, I think, has just gone second. Yes, he has. 7 tenths still behind Ronzois, but not too bad, especially as in terms of grid position. That is quite solid. But yeah, what I wanted to talk with you about is actually the fact that overtaking now on this year's game is actually more rewarding, as we've already talked about the effect of dirty air, which is a lot more, yeah, a lot more noticeable. Your car understeers just that a lot more, and it's just that little bit more unstable in the corners or on the traction, let's say, which is really, really good to see, because it's obviously more, realistic in comparison to real life. And overtaking then is actually should be more rewarding than it actually was on last year's game, because on last year's game you were a bit like you had a disadvantage if you were in front, because you couldn't save your ERS as well as the car behind you. But now ERS management is not that big of a deal. You just have, like you said earlier, a deploy button to press, which then gives you a power override, more or less, a battery override. And yeah, that really puts down your ERS massively, but you have the opportunity to then pass the other driver. And if you haven't engaged it, it's always in mode 1, which will definitely secure you some solid amount of ERS, as Nano Bacon has just invalidated, which is not good to see. And yeah, I think it should be a lot more rewarding to overtake them, because you don't have that dirty air effect. And the ERS management, like I said, is not that big of a thing anymore. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to a lot of overtakes on this game, as Tipson goes second fastest with a 2/10 slower lap time. He has set a 1:42 flat. Not too bad for Tipson in the Racing Point. Obviously in real life we see the Racing Point performing really, really well so far. Maybe Tipson can do something similar.
Yeah, that is true, of course, and we actually raced Tipson last season, PSGL 3, I believe. He was actually quite very quick in that Mercedes at times, so it's good to actually see him to set a good lap time there to get second at the moment, only a couple tenths off the McLaren. And yeah, as you were saying about the ERS and the overtake, it is going to be more rewarding when overtaking, but you're going to have to be a lot smarter with the decision using that ERS, because you can't just use that the whole lap, because it'll actually make you slow in certain bits. As King actually is in third then, I've noticed as well, on the Ferrari. I think he's just done that lap time, and his, well, technically teammate, James, has done a 42.3, a tenth off his teammate, moves out of the way there for the Mercedes driver, and goes fourth place.
Yeah, not a bad result for the Ferraris at all right now. Definitely better than in real life, at least. But that's not too difficult, if you're honest. But right now the Mercedes drivers are not looking that good at the moment, as Stiggy's 11th. Sabetti has not managed to put a single lap in so far. But who knows, hopefully this will change now, as he will hopefully finish this lap without invalidating or anything. And he is not the only one who's not set a lap. Dino as well in the Red Bull has not set a single lap time so far. He's still in the pit lane though, so I guess he's going for one final run, which will be his only then, it looks like. But yeah, very interesting tactic from him there. But yeah, I'm actually really, really hyped for this race. It's my first comms on this game. It's the same for you, and I think both of us don't really know how the racing will be like, and how it will look like. And I hope it's going to be different to F1 2019, because like I said, we saw a lot of tactical plays last year with the ERS management, and it just wasn't really satisfying to watch, just drivers following each other for 10 laps straight, and then 2 laps before the end the driver behind with 100% ERS just goes for a final move and makes it stick, and then just pulls away because the driver in front just has no ERS whatsoever. But while I was talking, Sabetti is about to finish his lap, goes even behind his teammate. 2 seconds behind the pole time at the moment, so not too good for the Mercedes drivers, but maybe they can still improve somehow with a last run, as Nedell is probably diving into the pits. Yes, he is. And we've got Venom currently. Is he on a lap? He's just started his lap. Or has he? Has he started or has he finished his lap?
Who started a lot?
Venom, I think. I think he should have started. Yeah, he's got a lot of ERS. So it should be... Yeah, he is on his lap. Probably his final run. So not an ideal time to set your final run, to be honest. But maybe it's working out for him. As we've got some guys in the chat saying good evening. Hopefully this race will be very, very exciting. But like I said, it could be just very, very much a race of its own for everybody as an individual, for setting their own lap times, being consistent. Obviously, you don't want to get caught up in a fight all too much, otherwise your lap times are going to drop down massively. And if you overtake, it needs to be very, very quickly, and you can't afford like a 5-lap long battle because your lap times will be dropping down.
Right, it's true, of course, and we're on board with Matthew Collins at the moment. He was a couple hundredths up in Sector 1. As in Sector 2 then, he is, wow, a whole second up on his time apparently. So he's somehow found a second. He's doing a Michael Schumacher when somebody pits and gains so much time trying to overcut them. As let's see then what Matthew Collins then can do for the final last bit of the straight, coming up to the bus stop section, the chicane. Will he be able to challenge the McLaren, who's on a 41.7? He's on a 43.1, so he'll be doing a 42 flat. I think he's on a 41.9, so he actually wasn't that far off, only a couple of tenths. Good lap there for Matthew Collins.
Yeah, we could see him. I don't see that fuel light flashing just yet, and right as I say that, the fuel light starts flashing. So probably no more laps from Venom. Like I said, not the ideal moment to set your final run. The track is not at perfect conditions. You want to be the last driver to come across the line, but that's always very, very risky, as all the drivers have come out the pits now, except from Sabatti actually, who stayed in the pit lane, or in his pit box actually.
That is true, of course, as Dino then is actually on a lap there, Felix. Oh, he's already gone through a Rouge down the long straight in the Red Bull on his first and only lap of the session.
Yeah, let's see, hopefully he can get through this lap without major mistakes. Oh, misses the apex massively, coming into the right-hander after the long camel straight, which makes overtaking pretty easy actually for the drivers. Oh, goes very wide through here, but should get a good exit now into this tricky left-hander where he can easily track extend. And he does track extend, and that is his quali over. So Dino will be starting from last place. Only if there's like something like a grid penalty or disqualification, he will be last on the grid for the race, which is not ideal for him at all. But let's see what V8 Field will do now on lobby host for today kindly. Oh, as he completely loses the rear end coming into Les Combes, misses the apex of the right hander there, and I'm not sure if he will actually finish this lap. At least I know that from myself, if I would make such a mistake, I'd be so annoyed that I couldn't be asked to do the lap. But he's just invalidated, so that's his quali over as well. And Stiggy should be one driver to start his lap. Yes, but so is Vapor King behind his teammate James. We're gonna go on board with James coming through Radeon right now, opening the DRS. We're at 320 kilometers an hour now, even 330 nearly. Yes, we are at 330. Incredible speeds by the Ferrari here. That's nothing that we can say about the real life Ferraris at the moment. But he comes round Les Combes. I could have carried a bit more speed through there, I think. Now into this tricky hairpin. Doesn't look up. I don't know if he's running ABS or not. But now, once again, here you are not allowed to go wide. You were allowed to go wide on last year's game, actually. But I like the fact that they've made it more strict and more consistent with that, actually. Shifts down into 6th for the little bit extra rotation, as Tyrrell Limitless would say right now. But I don't think he is running no ABS. I think he is running ABS as one of the Mercedes has spun out. And that is Stiggy. And Stiggy has just thrown his last lap of the session completely away. as Vapor King goes 5/10 quicker than his current best lap time, so we could see him challenge Ronzois for pole position right now, as he's finished his quali already. And let's see what James does first. And he has run out of VRS already. That won't help his run out of the final corner, out of the bus stop now, as he's coming around the final corner now to set a 142 flat. He stays fourth with that. And there goes Vapor King and puts his car on pole by not even a tenth of a second. Will anyone be able to challenge that? Axner is not able to challenge that. Nadal stays behind his teammate. Stiggy has spun on his lap, so he won't improve at all. And Vapor King puts his Ferrari on pole position for this evaluation race. A really, really good lap from the Ferrari driver, and the McLaren of Ron Zois did not put in a good enough effort to keep his pole position, which he had right until the death. And he will now have to start from second on more or less the wrong side of the grid. He will have the outside line. And there you have your final results for Qualidino. Sadly, not setting a single lap, which is definitely far from ideal. But now that quali is over, Jared, who are you thinking is going to be at the top in this entire race?
The top in this entire race, I think it's going to be the McLaren of Ron. I think he's got the pace as he did that on the first run, so he has got first run pace. I think he's going to have a good race pace compared to Vapor, Gibson and Matthew Collins, or as Venom. So I think the McLaren driver is going to be up there, but with the racing points, second and third.
Yeah, absolutely agreed. I mean, to put in that lap right at the start and then not being able to improve that lap, it just shows how much pace from the start you've got, and that's something really, really impressive. But obviously there are some drivers who are good in quali and not that good in the race in terms of race pace, but there are some drivers that are the exact opposite. For example, me personally, I'm not too good in terms of one lap pace, but when it comes to race pace, I think I'm a lot better than in quali, at least most of the times. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I know Tipson is quite solid in a race, and as I remember, like you said, we were in F3 together last season in PSGL on last year's game. I think he isn't a driver who makes too many mistakes, so we should keep an eye on him. And he could be able to, use mistakes by other drivers to then maybe gain one or two spots. But like I mentioned already, it's not all about the spots or the positions today, as we are starting the formation lap. The Ferrari car with the number 5 is leading the way for this formation lap, and I still got that fastest lap by Tipson on the bottom left. So yeah, definitely not full of glitches this game from the start.
True, of course, but what I just saw there, which unfortunately you just missed on your end, I actually saw the graphic for the tyre strategies album, what the tyres would be like. Unfortunately, you didn't actually get that, because I just checked back on stream to see if you actually got it, but you actually didn't. So it told you the tyre strategies, but the tyre strategies are mandatory soft and medium, so it actually means nothing, to be fair. As OTP, that was Connor, the other Connor, not Big C, said, "Hey, it's my favourite commentary team, and it's Neon's here too." Well, thank you very much. And I think Felix will be happy to be called a favourite commentator, you know?
Absolutely, absolutely. Always great to hear good feedback. Obviously, we're here to entertain you guys who are watching. As right now the entertainment isn't that big, because right now I'm actually trying to see. No, sadly I can't customize the on-screen display. I thought maybe I can just deactivate that little fastest lap thing on the bottom left and then activate it again, so I can maybe see the tire strategies. I hope I will have graphics, because I mentioned I'm really looking forward to this. If I don't have them, I'm going to be really, really sad and disappointed. But
well, it's just cool again, so.
Oh God. This is sad. I was looking so for real. That was my favorite thing about commentating on this year's game, the new graphics, which just make it a lot more realistic and just give the commentators a lot more insight on what's going on in terms of drivers and strategies. But seems like you have to keep us up to date with the tyre strategy if I don't get it, which is a bit sad. But yeah, what I was about to say is obviously we are here to entertain you guys, to look at the stream, and then you know, it's better to have commentators than just watching a race without anything being said. And I hope we're making the stream a bit more interesting than it would be without But yeah, that's our main goal for commentary in general. As we are waiting for the lights to come on, I would really appreciate if you could keep an eye on the back of the grid, or the second half of the grid actually, as I don't have the best camera view. Now I have even predicted pit stop strategies, but the lights are out for the first race for those guys in PSGL. It seems like it's a good start from Vapor King. He stays in the lead. Venom goes down the inside of the McLaren into turn 1. Last Source is always an easy place to crash for the drivers, and Venom stays behind for now, but maybe with the slipstream up through Radion now, we can see on his steering wheel the overtake button, if it's available or not, if he's activated it or not. Ronzois is a bit too far away from Vapor King, I think, to make a move actually. We're seeing the rear wing of the Racing Point, which is not what we need to see right now. And there goes Tipson, maybe down the inside, very late braking by Venom. He even locks up his front right tyre, but everything's gone well so far. As I have seen, I think there hasn't been any crashes.
Well, that is true, because there's almost been a crash between the AlphaTauri, Mercedes and the Alfa Romeo there in 9th, 10th and 11th. As there were 3 wide actually on the straight. There's one Mercedes actually made a mistake of survey. He braked a bit too early. Nobody's like as he hits the wall there. As I believe the other AlphaTauri of Ventinho is making a move.
Oh, and James has spun it, I think. I think James is round. Yes, he is. First lap. And Puhon, a very, very tricky corner for the drivers. And he is spun round on the opening lap. That's definitely not what he wants to see. And it seems like the top 4 are able to pull away from the rest of the field so far a little bit.
Oh, his TFI Nidal has just lost it on the curb. He's gone round as well. And you see the predicted pit stop strategy getting
Oh god, now I can see them as well. They've popped up for the 3rd time now, but it looks like Venom is really close to Ron Zois. I think he thought about a move. It was a 10th in between them. And Vitinho, it looks like, has gone past Sabetti. Yes, he has. Around the outside through the bus stop, and so has V8 Field. Gone around the outside through the second part as someone is dropping down. I think that's a timing glitch. Yeah, that should be a timing glitch.
Bacon actually looks like he has actually left a session on my screen, as he's the only one who's ghosting. But I think it's also actually a timing glitch, as you said, because apparently he's in 14th. He's actually 7th. He should be actually.
Yeah, I think that's just a timing glitch, to be honest. Yes, now we definitely have a timing glitch, as the top 4 have completely gone down the order. That's like I said, the game is still very, very filled with glitches. Doesn't make it easier for comms, but we'll just have to work with it. We'll just have to go with it. And it looks like Venom has got quite a solid amount of pace in this race so far. We saw him challenge the McLaren into turn 1 already on the opening lap at the start. As the top 4, as you can see on the bottom right on the little track map, that they are pulling away from the rest of the grid. And right now, I think we could see... Oh, we are seeing a side-by-side moment and a bit of contact, and Arno Bacon is spun round. Into the wall he goes. No damage in this race, as it's just in terms of lap times, and he's rejoining in last place. That was not ideal at all. And I didn't quite see what happened, and he spun around again. His tyres dirty and overheated. That's not good for him, as Dino has just gone down the inside of V8 Field once again. He's regained the spot that he lost just a lap ago, and we see fastest laps coming in now from Ron Zois especially, and we still got Nano Bacon struggling to get back onto the track and back and running. And now that the DRS should be enabled on this lap, we could see a move maybe inside the top 4, as they are still very, very close to each other. But it looks like Tipson is definitely too far away from Venom to make a move just yet. But we'll have to wait and see. Ron Zois is closing in on Vapor King. He's not activated the overtake button, so he didn't even want to make the move just yet. But we'll have to wait and see. Tipson actually gets his first 3-second time penalty early on in the race, only lap 3, and he's already got the first one as V8 Field and Dino. Those two are looking like they're having fun. No, it looks like V8 Field isn't having that much fun anymore, as he, I think, got tapped by the Red Bull of Dino and then completely lost the rear end out of Les Combes, and he kept the car on track. Well managed by the Alfa Romeo driver, but those two are really fighting in the first couple of laps.
Yeah, that is true. Of course, Dino was sat on the back of the grid, as he did say in the chat that he had 2 laps were going to be okay laps, but unfortunately invalidated in both of them, and just missed out on the qualifying by a second to do another run. But right now then, Dino is trying to keep the car stable, as he almost lost it there, and he's trying to catch up back up to V8 to make the overtake. And as we said earlier, overtaking is crucial. If you're going to go for it, go for it. But as I've just seen James again just lose the car completely. Just same place where the Williams driver lost it, of TFI Nedo. I've noticed a lot of the drivers either struggling with tyre heating, which can be a factor on this game a lot more.
Especially in dirty air. When you're stuck behind another car. And I don't know if you've noticed, but there have been a lot of 3-second time penalties that have come into play already. And we're only on lap 3, and I saw probably maybe 3 to 4 drivers getting those penalties. Oh, and there's not a lot of ERS left for Ronzois, but he's still go for it. Down the Camel Straight they go, side by side into Les Combes. The Ferrari have to give ways for now, and yes, there is a change of the lead on lap 4 of this race. Ronzois uses the DRS, uses his overtake button, and goes past Vapor King, and into the lead he goes. V8 Field is getting under pressure. They're going 3 wide out of Les Combes, but there's been contact that had to happen. They couldn't get through there without any contact, and if you go 3 wide through this right-hander, there is probably a car guaranteed to be spun round at the end of the fight. And really disappointing end for Sabatti, as he had already gained the spot from Dino before and then tried to pass V8 Field, but like I said, 3 wide just doesn't go into that corner, and we have a massive train behind V8 Field now with 4 cars. Same for the top 4, but we can see Tipson is losing out a little bit to the drivers in front, has lost the DRS to Venom. And it looks like we've got a few packs, and there's Aixnes, I think. Yes, he is spun round, gets back onto the track, and very lucky for those drivers currently that damage is not enabled in this evaluation race. I think otherwise we would have had many retirements already. But Jared, I think it's pretty good to see that we've got small groups of fights going on.
Well, that is true, of course. There's actually TFI and the other Williams has made a move on AB for 3 more, as Matthew Collins is actually on this as well, trying to overtake Vapor King now. Now, in a good spot to try and go through Radian and Rouge, because you go for that, side by side, there's going to be a crash. Now, twice I've raced here and twice I've had a crash. I don't even think I've finished a Spa race. But here comes the racing point then. Matthew Collins using all the ERS, he's got a lot more than the Ferrari. The Ferrari's completely out of it, but still without a straight line. A lower aero package possibly on that Ferrari there, Felix. So right now Vapor King is safe in second place with that DRS, but if the McLaren pulls away without the DRS range, the racing point or Matthew Collins will be a danger to the Ferrari in second place.
Yeah, I mean the fight could possibly even bring Tipson back into this. He's only 1.8 behind. He's probably losing out a little bit, as I mentioned earlier. But like you said, it looks like Ronzois is putting away so far. And yeah, like you mentioned in terms of the low aero package, setup is really crucial on every single track, obviously. But especially here at Spa, I think it could be quite crucial if both drivers have got DRS and slipstream, as Tipson picks up his second 3-second time penalty. Not good at all for him. We could see difficulties overtaking other drivers if both have got DRS, but maybe Venom fancies a move down the inside into the bus stop. Yes, he does. Down the inside, no contact so far. It looks like Venom lost the rear slightly. Now gets pushed out wide by Vapor King. He leaves him a little bit of room, but Venom has to accelerate on the curb on the outside. Venom uses his overtake button for a short amount of time. Into La Source it goes. Oh, he locks up, and that creates some contact between the two drivers. Luckily, like I mentioned, No damage in this lobby, so otherwise I think the Ferrari of Vapor King could have lost a little bit of its front wing there.
Well, that is true, of course, but with Matthew Collins making that move very early, he could have easily made a mistake there, because I would have waited till this straight to make a move. As one of the top offs, I believe that's Nana Bacon loft gone around again. As now the Ferrari's thinking about making a move, Matthew Collins, who locks up, but holds his nerve and keeps it on track, the position. As you said, it's really affecting the Ferrari now, and Timpson, if he can keep the pace consistent, he can now start challenging Vapor King, and I've noticed, Felix, as well, into the hairpin where Timpson was. A lot of people are locking up with no ABS there, struggling to find the correct braking spot and struggling to not lock up in this race at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very, very tricky through there. And I think especially Venom is really struggling with no ABS at the moment. But Vapor King is still staying within that solid DRS window for the moment, only 5 tenths behind. But as you can see, he hasn't got that much ERS left at the moment, which is not good at all for him. But maybe, just maybe, he can just save it for now. But Venom is putting away at the moment. Venom doesn't have that much ERS either, but definitely more than the Ferrari. But not too unrealistic at the moment. A McLaren and Racing Point in front of a Ferrari, that's definitely not too unrealistic. If it was 2019, I would have thought you're mad if you would tell me this. But yeah, this is pretty accurate. Just the two Mercedes should be leading this race by an absolute country mile.
Well, that is true, of course. Only one of them stays in 6th place, which is Stiggy in his own world a little bit, trying to pull away from the Williams driver. But I've noticed the Haas driver of AB53 Moss was actually catching up with James, and he bust up again by a couple of tenths, but then has lost about 5 to 6 tenths from James in one corner, for what it says in the graphics. So the Haas driver is struggling now on the soft tyres, and as I said, it's because of the weather. It's nice and sunny, which I believe Codemasters have actually made into the game, where if the weather is clear and it's a lot bright and the track temperature is hot, the tyres are going to overheat a lot easier than they did on the last game. As there, I've just noticed Matthew Collins yet again locking up into the hairpin, so that right front is going to be ruined for his pit stop.
Yeah, absolutely. He will be looking very much forward to pitting within the next couple of laps. We didn't see the pit stop strategy popping up for quite a while now, but hopefully that will come back. We don't need it 3 times per lap, but would be nice to see as soon as the pit window opens. But I'm quite confident it will pop up. I'm quite confident.
That's true, of course. I think the pit stop window will be around about lap 10, lap 11, since this is actually probably the easiest track to tyre wear, in my opinion, compared to the other tracks. It seems better than Bahrain at night. And it's an easy, soft, medium strategy. There's no point doing a 2-stop for this race distance, unless you're doing 100%, then possibly a 2-stop. But
Ronzois and Vapor King.
But this is actually quite early.
Yep, lap 7. And Vapor King and Ronzois, so does Tipson. All 3 try to get the undercut on Venom for now. Vitinho actually takes P2 for the moment, as he hasn't pitted. So we've got 5 drivers in the pit lane at the moment. So very early pit stops from those guys. And Ronzois rejoins in 5th. He is going side by side with V8 Field. We've got a yellow flag. I think that's James. Once again, that's James. He's really struggling in this race. But Ronzois flies past the Alfa Romeo V8 Field, is now behind Aixnes. Oh, that traffic won't help him at all. You can see how much more pace he's got in that McLaren with those fresh mediums in comparison to those old softs, which will be very, very used at this point. And I just hope that it won't get held up all too much, because those 2 guys are in a different race. But we could see an overcut by Venom at the moment, as he picks up another time penalty. And that is absolutely not good. Gap to leader between Ronzois and Venom at the moment is 16.8 seconds. And it's not really going down that much. I'm not sure how long the pit window is. Oh, that's Vapor King, I think. Oh no, that's James. I'm sorry. I thought that's Vapor King, and James is Had an awful race so far. And now that's who spun round? I think that's V8 Field. Yes, it is. Right before his pit stop, he spins round. Saw many drivers struggling through that corner. And now it's taken another victim through there. But let's see, what does Venom do now when he comes out the pits? Where will he end up in comparison to his rival Vapor King? It looks like Vapor King will retain the lead, or will he? It's going to be close. They're going side by side down into a Rouge now. Oh, he gets squeezed nearly up against the wall. But now Venom will have the DRS on Vapor King, and maybe that overcut has worked because of that traffic, as he is right behind him. And he gets past once again. So, I'm sorry, not the overcut has worked, but he stayed in front at least, more or less. He's not managed to overcut Runzois though, who's got quite a solid gap for now. But at least Venom has gone back past Vapor King, which was probably crucial. Otherwise, he'd have to pass the Ferrari once again. As Vapor King picks up another 3-second tire penalty, and that's exactly what you've mentioned, Jared. That corner cutting is just that a lot more strict on this game.
Oh yeah, that is true, of course. In my evaluation race when I was with the Bottlehaug TNR-ZE3, he actually managed to get disqualified in this track on one of his evaluation races, which was a shame. No offence to Sondre, he's a bottle coming up to penalties. He's been disqualified at a few tracks. But yeah, track limits, you're going to have to be a lot more careful. You can't exceed them as much, and a lot of the quick drivers also are going to have to pay attention to that. As they do push the boundaries a lot more than people who are maybe a little bit slower than them. They take a bit cautious line, like avoid the curbs and stuff like that. So right now, Matthew Collins is sitting at home in second place, and if he wants to try and win this evaluation race, he's going to have to catch up with the McLaren, who's 1.7 seconds ahead of him right now, who's got one lap older tyres.
He has been gaining on him though. He has been definitely gaining. He was 2 seconds behind. Now it's come down to 1.7. It was 1.6 a few moments ago. But it looks like, yeah, Runzois has got a lot more ERS than Venom has. So that is not a good thing for Venom at all. But maybe in terms of pace, he can just catch back up to him. As we see him mounting the curves through Les Combes after the long camel straight. And he's so on the limit in terms of track limits. That's why he's already gotten a few time penalties, and yeah, you just can't afford to get too many. Obviously the result doesn't count or isn't that important in this evaluation race, like I said, but still you don't want to get tons of penalties, otherwise yeah, that's not going to be too good for your placement in terms of divisions, because obviously it's difficult to then get your placement right. If
Vapor King's actually lost it. Sorry to cut you off, Felix. Vapor King's actually lost it and gone into the wall.
Oh yes.
He just touched the curb with the right left-hander, and he just lost him. So that curb is still deadly. Then, and Vapor then on a fresher set of mediums, just couldn't hold them and went straight into the wall. Then, luckily, there's no damage. Tipson then moves into P3, and he will be happy with that then to be on the podium in this evaluation race.
Yeah, absolutely. And James has now been demoted to last once again, as Venom sets the fastest lap of the race so far, and he's doing a good job to get back into that DRS window of Runzois. He's got 1 lap fresher tyres, which won't matter all too much, I think, but still it can help towards the end of the race. But like you said, the tyre wear is not that big of an issue here. I think one track where it's even less of an issue is actually Russia, but I'm not sure if it's actually better, even easier in Russia, or a little bit harder, or just around the same thing. As I just saw Nadal touching the inside curb, coming up ready on and completely plowing into the wall. That would have been game over for him if we had damage on, but he has definitely lost a few positions now. Drops down to 10th, maybe 11th. Yes, now 11th. And that was just a simple driver error by him there, and very unfortunate to make such a mistake on lap 11 of this race. At this time, you should have been getting used to the track and the limits where you can go, which curves you can use, but maybe that was just a small misjudgment. But it's just an evaluation race, so if his lap times are consistent, then that shouldn't matter all too much.
Well, that's true, of course, as Nadal then, with that mistake, is already challenging the Haas, so he's already got his tyres cool enough to start attacking on the Haas drivers. We actually looked like the Haas drivers actually trying to challenge V8. And I think the reason why a lot of people are spinning is because they're running wide on certain curbs, possibly the setups they're using, they're using default. The curbs at certain parts of the track, like exit curbs and that, are a little bit deadly if you put too much on the power, and you can spin out, as we have seen James do it a few times. So I don't think it's actually in the session. He's actually on a set of hard tyres, which the mandatory thing was actually soft to medium. So I don't know what will happen since he's on hards, if he's actually still here. Because I don't even think he's actually in the session anymore, because his car is ghosting. But right now, though, there is another battle for P3. Vapor King and Tips.
I just went on board, and Vapor King had a little look on the outside, but Tipson managed to place his car very, very well. And as far as I know, Tipson is a really, really good racer. He's got a lot of racecraft, and he most of the time knows where to place his car, how to overtake different people. He can be very, very difficult to overtake, but he's most of the time a very fair racer as well, which is always what we want to see. A good and fair race, but also a bit of hard racing as well, because you need that to actually defend or gain a position. Otherwise, you won't have any chances of doing that. But if he just does what he has been doing on the previous games, or especially on last year's game, just placing your car right at the right time, then it could actually be a podium for him on track. I don't know what it looks like in terms of penalties at the moment, but for the moment he is in P3 on track.
Well, that is true, of course, and he's doing a very good job. He hasn't made any mistakes. He's stayed calm and relaxed just through this race pace. That's what he basically needs to do, since if this was round one, we would see a different side of Tips. We'd probably see a bit more aggressive with defending, using more of that overtake button. But right now he's just sitting at home, just trying to get these race lap times done. Each lap is the end of their picks up a penalty, and everybody else maybe a little bit more aggressive than him in this race and just wants to make overtakes and try and beat their lap times. But I think Tipson's being very smart, as he's now defending for the Ferrari now, and here comes Vapor King. It makes me round the outside there, and then Tipson, if I was him, I'd just let him go, but he's actually trying to fight it off. Tries to switch. He's going to get a better run in through this part of the track, and look at the grip there. And right now he's going to go for a dive into the hairpin. The Ferrari there sees him, gives him the space, and just the lack of traction there, unfortunately. Well, Tipson has to let him go, but he's now going to be doing dirty air with the Ferrari.
Yep, and that dirty air can definitely cause some troubles for the Racing Point. But we saw both drivers for a short amount of time activating the ERS deployment mode of overtake, as Vapor King had a bit of a bad run out of that corner, and then Tipson saw the opportunity. Vapor King tried to get away a little bit after his mistake, so you can really use it tactically, and Vapor King has done that really, really nicely in that situation, and very good job from him. But right now it seems like he might have to give ways once again, as Tipson tries to fight back, maybe around the outside through the bus stop. No, he thinks about the run out of the bus stop now. He gets a better exit, I think. Not quite. And Vapor King is able to pull away just that tiny little bit. But Tipson hasn't got that much ERS left, so he might have to go for one decisive move now and try and save some of that ERS. Otherwise it's going to be difficult saving ERS and keeping Vapor King within a 1 second window to the front. But now maybe when he activates that overtake button. No, he doesn't. He goes to the inside. There was a little gap and he went for it. And there he goes, back into P3. A very, very good move by Tipson. And Vapor King maybe didn't pay that much attention in that situation because he left a car's width of space on the inside, which is definitely not ideal if you want to defend your position. And that means he has dropped down to 4th once again as Stiggy is thinking about a move on Dino, who's gone wide into Lecom now. Oh, they actually make slight contact as Dino goes wide because of that. And Stiggy is right behind him, dives down the inside into this hairpin, and he gets the move done. If Dino can't make the switchback work, no he can't. So Stiggy up into P7, and really good fighting we've got so far in this race.
Well, that is true. We've had Vapor King and Tipson have a fight. We had Matthew Collins actually and Vapor King have a fight, and then Dino there and Stiggy fighting it off. And Dino there didn't really get the decent exit through the hairpin there. He lost a bit of grip on the rear tyres. So he will be disappointed that he's lost a position, but he can get his head down if he wants to try and catch up with Stiggy. He can. He has plenty of ERS compared to Stiggy. He's got over 80%. Stiggy's only got like 50%. So Dino's been very smart with his ERS and just managing it. And he may make an overtake very soon, if actually maybe end of this little straight, the corners. And here comes Dino now, possibly making a dive into the bus stop chicane. No, he stays behind, and he needs to get a good exit here, or he's not going to have a chance.
Yeah, right now, once again, Vapor King tries to fight back against Tipson. He's right behind him, has to slightly cut the inside corner there, and goes clean around the outside. I think Tipson has no chance whatsoever to fight back, with the Ferrari being in a slipstream and DRS. And the Ferrari gets past once again as we are looking at the fight between Dino and Stiggy now once again. As like you said, Stiggy's got a lot of ERS to use, but he doesn't even use it. He's smart enough to not use it when he doesn't need it. So very, very good tactics there by the Red Bull driver for not using that ERS when you don't have to actually. And he's up another position now and back into P7.
Yeah, that is true, of course, as we did see there, as you said, he didn't really have to use the ERS. Now, if I was him, I'd switch the ERS into overtake now to try and pull a gap of at least a second, so then he's out of DRS range, saves the ERS, and then push a little bit more, because right now he's just going to basically have another run of Stiggy possibly catching up again on the next straight with DRS, and to make the overtake quite easily, but actually Dino is actually pulling away with just raw pace in that Red Bull, and looks a lot more comfortable in that Red Bull car with the medium tyres.
And right now, the gap between Ronzois and Venom is very, very close to the DRS window, actually. So Venom is just 1 second behind. Now he's 9/10ths behind it. If he can get DRS just once, then it's going to be very difficult to get him out once again. I don't know if it's gone up to over 1 second right across the line. Yes, it has. That was so close for Venom. He should have just activated his overtake button just for that tiny little moment, and then he maybe could have had the DRS from Ronzois and maybe challenged him for the race win. But for now, Ronzois stays in first with a 1.2 second gap to Venom, and he manages that quite well. But like I mentioned, it could also be down to the dirty air that is coming into play a lot earlier than on last year's game as well. I don't know what exactly the time difference should be until you feel the dirty air, but it's definitely a lot sooner than on last year's game as far as I'm aware.
Well, that's true, of course, but as you did say, Tipson there didn't activate DRS. There is one thing we haven't factored in. He could have a DRS failure, which can happen, so maybe the DRS was there saying that you could use it, but actually physically can't use it because the DRS system on his car has stopped working for a bit, and hopefully the engineers in the Racing Point team can get that fixed so he can actually challenge the McLaren as he's within striking distance. So hopefully he doesn't have an issue, and maybe that was just him not pressing the button, but we'll have to wait and see as we're now on lap 17. And
yeah.
St. Felix, you will have to take the race director soon, as just a reminder.
Yes, thank you very much for reminding me. We'll do that in a couple of laps time, and I'm very glad we don't have that stupid graphic of like in striking distance in 7 laps or whatever, because as we all know, that is always BS. Let's say BS and not say the full word. But yeah, I think they've got an equal amount of pace. I think Venom could be challenging Ronzois. He has been catching up. The gap was 2 seconds, obviously, when he came out of the pits. But now it's come down to 1.2 or 1 second around there. But I think the pace is pretty equal between those drivers, which makes overtaking very, very difficult for Venom.
Yeah, that is true, of course. He's going to have to be smart. He is on lap 17, so he probably could save his ERS, because right now the McLaren's got basically 60% ERS, not really using the overtake button as much. However, Matthew, or his Venom, has only got 36% ERS, so he's going to have to be smart as he's going a bit tense down off his personal best lap time. So he's still got some good pace in these mediums, so he has plenty of time to make the move before the mediums start to wear off.
Absolutely, absolutely, you're right. I didn't even think about that, of the little tyre advantage that Venom has got. But yeah, I hope for the sakes of excitement that Ronzois or that Venom will be able to get into that 1 second window of Venom. Venom getting into that 1 second window of Ronzois. Sorry, got the names mixed up there a little bit, but it seems like just out of La Source, out of turn 1, it looks like Ronzois has always got slightly better run than Venom, which holds off Venom from using DRS on this Camel straight here. But maybe Venom should start rethinking his attempt at trying to get into that 1 second window, and maybe he should try and get that even on the start finish straight. It's not a long straight, but the DRS definitely helps you keeping up with the driver in front, even though you've got that dirty air. And yeah, maybe that could help, but we'll have to wait and see. We're not sitting in that car. We're not in this race. We're just watching it right now, and it's very easy said, but it's probably very, very difficult to actually put that into onto the track, into action. But Ronzois looks really, really confident right now, and really consistent as well. His pace has been pretty good all weekend long, or race long actually. V8 Field, I think, has just made a mistake through Lake Combe. Yes, he has, and he's lost a little bit of time there. But for the moment, he is still in 10th.
Oh yeah, that is true though, across 10th. I've also noticed the tyre graphic. Now, I've seen this glitch a few times. Apparently Sabetti is on 25 lap or mediums. We haven't even done 25 laps, and the distance in 25 laps we've only done 19. So, well, 18 for him actually, since he hasn't done the 19th lap, but I don't know if you're actually seeing this as well.
Yeah.
But he's in 12th right now, and he's 8 seconds off the Haas driver, and Nana Birkin is in 13th, almost roughly the same gap to Sabetti. So, gaps are quite big further behind. The only close spot, as he said, is between either Timpson of Eber King or Matthew Collins and McLaren on one. But I think, in my opinion, the McLaren driver has got it in the bag. Matthew or Venom hasn't saved enough ERS if he wants to try and challenge right now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, like I said, very difficult to get into that 1 second window, but once you're in it, it can be difficult on certain tracks to get the driver behind you out of that window, as Venom picks up another 3 second time penalty. And on the next lap, I think I will just, to make sure I don't forget it, I will just go through the race director and check everything. Show it on stream for the admins of PSGL to then make the placements right. I will try and do it after the race as well, but maybe the lobby closes too early then for me to do that. But it looks like Nadal has made a move on Stiggy, or rather Stiggy has made a mistake through Lake Combe as well. Only 1 lap after V8 Field has made a mistake. So it looks like there are still a lot of mistakes being made by the drivers, probably because the game is not that it's quite new still, and I don't think many people have gone into competitive racing yet.
Oh yeah, that's true. It's 1 lap 20 then. So the field's a lot spread out. I don't really know what else to add, really. It's just been awesome. No dirty tactics or anything like that. No Rosberg and Hamilton moments. It's been clean racing from everyone. A few mistakes. People spinning out as you're going to the race director then. As Matthew then still isn't closing up. He's just averaging around about a couple of hundredths through the straight, but then loses it in the corners a little bit there. And now he's actually gained a little bit of time now. He's actually gained a tenth through that corner. Now, will he lose time into the hairpin? Let's see, short shift to fourth. And that's another feature as well. Short shifting isn't as OP as it was on last game, which I prefer, to be fair, as it was pretty OP for people. Is he actually has lost a little bit of time again, and he's just staying there. Those two times just stabilising between 1.1 to 1.2 seconds there, Felix, as Vapor King is almost 11 seconds behind Matthew Collins right now, as Tibson's actually in attack range, around about 6/10 of Vapor King.
Yeah, as I just went through the race director at the moment, but I just noticed, I think every single driver has gotten a penalty except from Ron Zoy's. So an incredible job by the McLaren driver. Not only that he's quick, but he's also has got not a single penalty so far. He's got 2 warnings, and other than that, nothing has got in his way of winning this race. Venom has got quite a lot, so has Vapor King, but Tibson has got a huge amount of time penalties, so he will definitely not get that 3rd spot. Only if maybe Vapor King gets 2 or 3 more penalties, maybe then there's a chance. But for the moment, as it stands, he will not have a chance at P3. But obviously, like we've mentioned many times, the position in the end doesn't really matter that much. It depends on your pace each and every lap, your consistency, and how you're doing. But let's see if Tibson can still get past him on track. He's not using overtake, but he's going cleanly around the outside of Vapor King, and he goes up into P3 and currently stands on the podium on track. And Venom has just gone inside a 1 second window, which is good to see for the Racing Point. Maybe, just maybe, he's pushing to the limits right now, right on the penultimate lap, to maybe try and make that one final decisive move on the McLaren in front of him for the race win on track. But we'll have to wait and see. We could see 2 very interesting battles on the final lap. I'm pretty sure that Venom is willing to take this race win.
Well, yeah, that is true. Of course, this run has no penalties, as we're on the penultimate lap. So we'll be on the last lap very shortly, and these two have been in a league on their own, basically, running away with 1st and 2nd. And this just reminds me of the Hungary race with Hamilton, just with a commanding lead, with these two now having a commanding lead of 12 to 13 seconds roughly to the next driver in 3rd place, which is Tibson, actually, who I didn't notice actually passed the King. Is actually Matthew Collins sets a new fastest lap, 44.9.
Yep. Incredible job. He's pushing.
Awesome.
He's throwing everything he's got at the McLaren driver right now for this race win. He hasn't got much ERS, but is it enough to take the race lead on the final lap of this race? He hasn't got overtake enabled just yet. Now he has. He's got the DRS. He's got the slipstream. Last lap of this race. The McLaren doesn't defend the inside line. There goes Venom down the inside. He squeezes the McLaren off, nearly off the track. And there's been contact.
No.
And Ronzois nearly spins round. Keeps the car on track. Very well done. And then Tibson and Vapor King a bit further behind are fighting for 3rd spot at the moment. Tibson has defended the inside line. Has kept it as well. And there goes Vapor King. Maybe down the inside into this left-hander now. No. Maybe a good run down into the hairpin. No. Vapor King has barely got any ERS left at the moment. He's right on the edge. Tibson has got a lot more, but it looks like Venom has got that race win now on track. Definitely not on time penalties, I can tell you that, but still a very, very good job from Venom, very tactically, and going for one last lap move. And like you said, the little tyre advantage here of 1 lap maybe made the difference in the end. that got him first place on track.
Yeah, that is true. Of course, I know Venom, he's a quick driver before I have racing. He's a lot quicker than me. So he has got talent underneath that racing point. So he's done well to make the move. Unfortunately, it's going to be in vain because he's got a lot of penalties. So he will take the win then on track. But then here comes Ron. It takes the win by penalties. And who's going to win actually out of Tipson and Vapor King? Will any of these two get a surprising penalty to throw a spanner into the
I think
works?
it's going to be Vapor King for third in the end. Yes, it is. Like quite some margin as well. And even though both drivers in both fights have lost out on track, they've got the position on time penalties in the end. Vitinho takes a very quiet 5th place, but a very solid one as well. And Ixness takes 6th in front of Dino. Maybe penalties change it. No, Dino stays behind. Nadal, does he move up the order in terms of time penalties? Or will he actually take 8th? He takes 8th. No, actually 9th. As Stiggy then moves up by 1 place due to time penalties. And there goes V8 Phil then around the final corner as well across the line. He's going to take 10th. There will be the final points paying position. But here it isn't. And Atmo takes P11. James Ghost Car finishes last. Sabetti takes 12. And Nano Bacon finishes in P13. Or is that's actually 11th. So Nano Bacon on penalties gains 2 spots. Seems like very solid. Dino gets driver of the day. Obviously started last. And had a pretty good recovery drive. Not going to lie. Solid pace all race long. But yeah, quite an interesting race considering it was an evaluation race and positions don't really matter. As here you have your race winner in the end. Not on track, but on penalties. He has won it. He's done a great job. Not getting any penalties, I think. And taking the race win with that. Really, really good result.
Yeah, good result for that McLaren driver, and a very good result. Stiggy actually, not Stiggy, Sabetti actually keeping on track with 35 lap old mediums apparently in 13th there.
Yeah, maybe I've got still time to run through this right here, the race director. Yes, I have. As there's no countdown just yet. This should be alright. Yes, I've still got 30 seconds left, so that should be enough for me to get all of the race directors. Dino setting his personal fastest lap in the end. So does Ixness. So does everyone nearly. Nearly everyone has set their fastest lap on their final lap. So very, very impressive actually to see those guys. And that's it for now. That's it from us. And yeah, that was the 6th evaluation race. That was grid 2 for Thursday. Make sure to tune in for other drivers to do their evaluation race later in this week. I think the next one should be, as far as I'm aware, should be on Sunday. Should be Sunday. Yes, it is Sunday. And then we've got races on Monday once again for the top tiers. But yeah, I'm hoping I will be back, and I'm hoping you will be back for actual commentary of the actual seasons in PSGL then, for maybe an F3 league. And yeah, I hope you all enjoyed it. Thank you, Jared, for joining me. And I would say hopefully we'll see us in the commentary box once again throughout the course of this game. And thank you all for watching. Thank you all for joining us. Hope you enjoyed it. Until then, goodbye and take care.